The superspeed gene is the ACTN3. This gene controlled type 2 muscle fibers, which is responsible for explosive movements like sprinting, jumping, and heavy lifting. The ACTN3 comes in two variants, the R and X. If you carry the RR or RX variant, your body produces alpha-actinin 3 protein, a protein that makes your muscle fibers contract stronger and faster. But if you carry XX, that protein isn't produced at all. A study found that almost no Olympic sprinters carry the XX variant. Nearly every elite speed athlete in the world, from Usain Bolt to other top sprinters today, carries at least one copy of R. Superstrength. Superstrength gene is the MSTN, the gene that produces myostatin, a protein whose only job is to limit how much muscle your body can grow. In a normal body, myostatin kicks in once your muscles reach a certain size. But in people with a mutated MSTN gene, that break doesn't exist because myostatin is either underproduced or completely absent, which directly causes your muscles to keep growing. A true reported and verified case of individual having this mutation is extremely rare, but I managed to find one, which is Liam Hoekstra from Michigan. If you wonder how he is doing now, he seems to be enjoying playing hockey. The Unbreakable Bones. This is LRP5, a gene that controls bone density in normal people, but when mutated, it goes overdrive, producing bones so dense to the point it's nearly unbreakable. The way of how LRP5 works is by regulating how much mineral gets deposited into your bones, by controlling a signaling pathway called WNT. When this gene mutates in a specific way, that pathway gets stuck in the on position, meaning the body constantly keeps reinforcing bone tissue way beyond the normal limit. The result is bone density roughly 8 times higher than the average person. A verified case is found by scientists from Connecticut, USA. The whole family survived a severe car crash without any broken bones. The HIV Immunity mutation is CCR 5-delta32, a mutation that deletes a specific receptor on the surface of your cells. When it got deleted, the HIV has nowhere to go. How it works? It's because HIV doesn't just randomly attack cells. It needs a specific protein receptor called CCR5 to latch onto and force its way in. In people with the CCR5-delta32 mutation, however, that receptor is either severely reduced or completely absent from their cell surface. People who inherit this mutation from both parents are considered virtually immune to the most common strain of HIV, and those who inherit it from just one parent still significantly harder to infect. The real case study for this one is Timothy Ray Brown. In 2008, known as the Berlin patient, became the first person ever documented to be cured of HIV. His doctors treated his leukemia with a bone marrow transplant, and they specifically chose a donor who carried the CCR5-delta32 mutation. Diabetes immunity. Diabetes immunity gene mutation is SLC30A8, a gene involved in insulin production inside your pancreas. If it got broken, something interesting happened. It actually makes you more protected against type 2 diabetes. How it works? SLC30A8 normally produces a protein that transports zinc into insulin-producing cells called beta cells. Scientists originally assumed that disrupting this process would be harmful, until they studied people with a loss-of-function mutation in this gene. Their beta cells were actually more efficient at releasing insulin when needed. The broken version somehow fine-tunes the system. A real-world example for this case is the massive study published in Nature Genetics. Analyzed data from over 150,000 people across multiple countries. They found that carriers of this loss-of-function mutation had a 65% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to non-carriers. Seeing more colors. Most humans have 3 types of color receptors in their eyes, giving us the ability to see around 1 million colors. But some people are born with 4, which opens up a world of color that the rest of us are literally blind to. Why this happen? Color vision works through cone cells in your retina. Normal humans have 3, sensitive to red, green, and blue. A mutation in the X chromosome can produce a fourth cone, sitting between red and green on the spectrum. Each additional cone type doesn't just add a few colors, it multiplies the range exponentially. A real-world example is found by scientist Gabrielle Jordan from Newcastle University. The woman, known only as CDA29 to protect her privacy, could distinguish between colors that appeared completely identical to everyone else in the room. Interestingly, tetrachromacy occurs almost exclusively in women because it requires two X chromosomes to carry the mutation. Short sleeper. Short sleeper gene mutation is DEC2. For people with this mutation, they're able to sleep 4 to 6 hours and wake up completely fine. This is because DEC2 is a gene that regulates your sleep cycle by controlling certain proteins involved in your circadian rhythm. In most people, this gene acts as a timer, keeping you in sleep long enough to fully restore the brain and body. But in people with the P384R mutation of DEC2, that timer runs faster. Their bodies compress the restorative stages of sleep, particularly deep sleep and REM, into a shorter window without losing any of the benefits. A real-world example of this is found by scientists from UC San Francisco, led by Ying Hui Fu. They discovered it while studying a mother and daughter who had naturally slept around 6 hours their entire lives, going to bed late, waking up early, and outperforming normal sleepers on every cognitive test they ran. Anxiety immunity. Imagine never feeling anxiety, not because of medication or therapy, but because a FA-out mutation permanently switched those feelings off. This is because the FA-out mutation disrupts a gene that normally breaks down anandamide, a naturally occurring chemical in your brain, often called the bliss molecule. When FA-out is mutated, anandamide stays in the brain longer, at higher levels, producing a persistent baseline of calm, well-being, and emotional stability. On top of that, the mutation also appears to accelerate wound healing and reduce inflammation throughout the body. A real-world example of this is found by researchers at University College London. They published a case study on a Scottish woman named Jo Cameron. She was 71 years old and had never experienced anxiety, panic, or depression. Alcohol resistance. For decades, Ozzy Osbourne consumed amounts of drugs and alcohol that should have killed him multiple times over. Doctors were baffled, so in 2010, scientists decided to stop guessing and actually sequenced his entire genome to find out why he was still alive. What they found out was a cluster of rare genetic variants that collectively made Ozzy's body process toxic substances in an unusual way. A variant in his ADH4 gene altered how his liver metabolized alcohol, allowing his body to handle concentrations that would shut down a normal person's organs. Superintelligence. Unlike every mutation in this video, where one gene produces one dramatic effect, intelligence doesn't work that way because it's controlled by thousands of genes simultaneously, each contributing a tiny fraction. But among all of them, HMGA2 kept showing up. This gene influences brain volume and neural development. A specific variant called the T allele is consistently linked to larger brain size and higher cognitive scores. It's not a genius switch. It's more like one brick in a wall that has a million bricks, which is why this makes superintelligence as the only superpower on this list that nature deliberately made impossible to shortcut.